Sai Ram. Sri Sai Sacharita, Chapter 24. Baba's Wit and Humor, Chana Leela, Hemant Pant, Sudama, Anna Chichanikar versus Maushi Bai. Preliminary. Unless we surrender our ego to the feet of our Sadguru, we will not succeed in our undertaking. If we become egoless, then our success is assured. By worshipping Sai Baba, we attain both the objects, worldly and spiritual, and are fixed in our true nature and get peace and happiness. Therefore, those who want to accomplish or gain their welfare should respectively hear Sai Baba's Leela and stories and meditate on them. If they do so, they will easily attain the object of their life and get bliss. Generally, all people like wit and humor, but they do not like that joke should be cracked based on their expense. But Baba's method was very peculiar, and when it can be accompanied with good gestures, it is very interesting and instructive, and the people therefore did not mind, even if they were held to the ridicule. Hemant Pant gives one such instance as below: the Chana Leela. In Shirdi, a special bazaar was held every Sunday, and people from neighboring villages came there with erected booths and stalls in the open street and stood there with their wares and commodities. Every noon the masjid was crowded, but on Sunday it was crowded to suffocation. On one such Sunday, Hemant Pant sat in front of Baba, shampooing his legs and muttering God's name. Shyama was also on the Baba's left side. Vaman Rao was also present there. Shriman Bhuti and Kaka Sahib Dishti and all others were also present. Then Shyama laughed and said to Anna Sahib, "See that some grains have stuck to your sleeve of a coat." So saying, he touched the sleeve and found that there were some grains. Hemant Pant straightened his forearm to see what the matter was, and to his surprise, some grains of grams came rolling down and were picked up by the people who were sitting there. This incident furnished a subject matter of joke. Everybody present began to wonder and said something or the other as to how the grains found their way into the sleeve of the coat and lodged there for so long. Hemant Pant also could not guess. When nobody could give a satisfactory explanation this matter, everybody is wondering about this mystery. Baba said as follows: "This fellow, this Anna Sahib, has got a bad habit of eating alone. Today is a bazaar day and he came here chewing grams. I know his habit, and these grams are a proof of it. What wonder is there in this matter?" Hemant Pant: "Baba, I never know of eating things alone. And then why do you shoulder this bad habit on me? I have never yet seen Shirdi Bazaar. I never went to the bazaar today, and how can I buy grams and how could I eat them if I had not bought them? I never eat anything unless I share it with others present around me at the time of my meals." Then Baba remarked, "It's true that you give to the present people, but if none is nearby, what could you do or I do? But do you remember me before eating? Am I not always with you? Then do you offer me anything before you eat?" The moral of the story. Let us mark and note carefully that Baba has taught us by this incident. He has advised us that before the senses, the mind and the intellect enjoy the objects, first he should be remembered. And if this be done, this is a way of making an offering to him. The senses, etc., can never remain without their objects. But if these objects are first offered to the Guru, the attachment for them will naturally vanish. In this way, all the vrittis, the subtle thoughts regarding desire, anger, avarice, etc., should first be offered and directed to the Guru, and if this practice be followed, the Lord will help us in eradicating all the vrittis. When before enjoyment of the objects you think that Baba is present, the question whether this object is fit to be enjoyed or not will at once arise. Then the object that it is not fit to be enjoyed will be shunned, and in this way our vicious habits and vices will disappear and our character will improve. Then love for Guru will grow and pure knowledge will sprout out of it. When this knowledge grows, the bondage of body consciousness, we our body, will snap, and our intellect will be merged in the spirit consciousness. We are the spirit. Then we shall get bliss and contentment. There is no difference between Guru and God. He who sees any difference in them finds God nowhere. So leaving aside all ideas of differences, we should regard Guru and God as one. And if we serve our Guru as stated above, God will be certainly pleased, and by purifying our minds, will give us self-realization. To put the matter in a nutshell, we should not enjoy any object with our senses, etc., without first remembering our Guru. When the mind is trained in this way, We will always be reminded of Baba, and our meditation on Baba will grow apace. The Shagun form of Baba will ever be before our eyes, and then devotion, non attachment, salvation will all be ours. When Baba's form is thus fixed before our mental vision, we forget hunger, thirst, and the sansara. The consciousness of the worldly pleasure will disappear, and our mind will shall attain peace and happiness. Sudama's story. When the above story was being narrated, Hemant Pant was reminded of a similar story of Sudama which illustrates the same principle, and therefore it has been given here. Sri Krishna and his elder brother Balrama were living with as co-student named Sudama in the ashram of their guru Sandipini. Once Krishna and Balrama were sent to the forest for bringing fuel. When the wife of Sandipini sent Sudama also for the same purpose with some quantity of grams for the three. When Krishna met Sudama in the forest, he said to him, Dada, I want water, I am very thirsty. Sudama replied, no water should be drank on empty stomach, so it's better that you rest for a while. He did not say that he had got the grams with him and that Krishna should take some. As Krishna was tired, he lay down for rest on the lap of Sudama and was soon snoring. On seeing this, Sudama took out the grams and began to eat. Then Krishna suddenly asked him, Dada, what are you eating? What is this chitter-chatter sound? He replied, what is there to eat? I am shivering with cold and my teeth are chattering. I can't even repeat Vishnu Sahasranamam properly. Hearing this, the omnipresent Krishna said, I just got a dream in which I saw a man eating things of another. And when I asked about it, he said, what does should he eat? Meaning thereby that he had nothing to eat. The other man said, let it be so. Dada, this is only a dream. I know you won't eat anything without giving me. Under the influence of the dream, I asked you what you are eating. If Sudama had known the omniscient Sri Krishna and his Leelas, he would not have acted as he did. Therefore, he had to suffer for what he did. Though he was a chum of Sri Krishna, he had to pass his later life in utter poverty. But when he offered Krishna a handful of parched rice earned by his wife with his own labor, Krishna was pleased and gave him golden estate to enjoy. This story should be remembered by those who have the habit of eating things alone without partaking it with others. The Shruti also emphasizes this lesson and asks us to offer things first to God and then enjoy them after they are renounced by Him. Baba has also taught us the same lesson in an inimitable and humorous way. Anna Chichanikar and Maushi Bai. Hemant Pant now describes another witty incident in which Baba played a peacemaker part. There was one devotee by the name Damodar Gansham Babre alias Anna Chichanikar. He was a simple, rustic and straightforward person. He cared for nobody, always spoke plainly and carried all dealings in cash. Though he looked outwardly harsh and uncompromising, he was good-natured and guileless. So Baba loved him. One day, like others serving Baba in their own way, this Anna was shampooing the left arm of Baba, which rested on the courtyard. On the right side, one old widow named Venubai Kanjoli, whom Baba called Mother, and others called Maushi Bai, was serving Baba in her own way. This Maushi Bai was an elderly woman of pure heart. She clasped the fingers of both her hands around the trunk of Baba and was at this time massaging Baba's abdomen. She did this so forcibly that Baba's back and abdomen became flat and Baba moved from side to side. Anna on the other side was steady, but Maushi Bai's face moved up and down with strokes. Once it so happened that her face came very close to Anna's. Being of a witty disposition, she remarked, "Oh, this Anna is a lewd fellow, he wants to kiss me. Even being so old and grey hair, he feels no shame in kissing me." These words enraged Anna and he pulled up his sleeves and said, "You say I am an old fellow and I am no quite fool. It is you who picked up this quarrel with me." All the persons present, they were enjoying this encounter between them. Baba, who loved both of them equally and wanted to pacify them, managed the affair very skillfully. Lovingly, he said, "Oh Anna, why are you unnecessarily raising this hue and cry? I do not understand what harm or impropriety is there in this when you kiss your mother." Hearing these words of Baba, both of them were satisfied and all the persons laughed merrily. Baba's characteristics, his dependency on his bhaktas. Baba allowed his devotees to serve him in their own way and did not like any persons interfering in this. To quote an instance, the same Maushi Bai was on another occasion kneading Baba's abdomen. Seeing the force used by her, all the devotees felt very nervous and anxious. They said, "Oh mother, be more considerate and moderate, otherwise you will break Baba's arteries and nerves." At this, Baba got up at once from his seat and dashed his satka on the ground. He got enraged and his eyes became red like a live ember. None dared to stand before Baba, and then Baba took hold of one end of the satka with both the hands and pressed it to the hollow of his abdomen, and the other end was fixed to the post, began to press his abdomen against it. The satka, which was almost 2 to 3 feet in length, seemed all ready to go into Baba's abdomen, and the people feared that the abdomen would be ruptured in a short time. The post was fixed and unmovable, and Baba began to move closer and closer to it and clasped the post firmly. Every moment the rupture were expected, and they were all dismayed, did not know what to do, and stood dumb with wonder and fear. The other devotees wanted only to give an hint to the Maushibai to be moderate in her service and not cause any trouble or pain to Baba. They were surprised to see that this well-intentioned effort had resulted in this crisis, and they could do nothing but to wait and see. Fortunately, Baba's rage soon cooled down. He left the satka and resumed his seat. From this time onwards, the devotees took the lesson that they should not meddle with anybody but allow him to serve Baba as he chooses, as he is capable to gauge the merits and worth of the services rendered unto him. Bo to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.